like half of the bottle goes up there, and you'll be shit-faced immediately. I guarantee it.
Yeah, that's true. I could probably do that. It's not technically drinking. It's just reverse inhaling.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's like Kharkov enema. That'll work.
Yeah, I'm all right with that.
I'm getting, it's weird. So, I don't know how your boss is, but my boss is real iron-fisted and weird. And so when I started drinking with him, I was like, man, is he going to get even more iron-fisted and shitty? Or am I going to crack that weird shell? And am I going to get into the weird, rotten Ukrainian egg innards? You know what I mean?
Oh, man, he's Ukrainian. He's just got to be running on liquor all the time then.
Yeah, so I don't know. So I think I got into the weird soft nougaty center. He's all right on the inside when he's drunk, so I need to keep him drunk at work now, apparently.
That'll work.
So I'm putting down one more icy cold Budweiser right here while we're talking, by the way.
Fuck yeah.
Are we rolling? Are you rolling right now? Is this on? This would be dope ass pod right now.
Oh, it definitely is. We've been recording for the last minute. I barely missed out.
So
oh, go ahead.
When I start your podcast, so I have like three. No, wait a minute. No, wait. Yeah. So you've introduced me to three of my new favorite podcasts. So one of them is yours, clearly, and one of them is Tom and Jim's Top 5, and then Thunkcast. It turns out. And what I like about yours is when you come in, it's a super organic, like you just walked into the room conversation, which I think probably is what the people are getting right now. Is that right?
That's exactly right.
So I've pulled the wool off, so you might as well get your introduction out of the way, and then we'll keep talking.
All right, that sounds good. We can do that. Hello and welcome to a Topic a Month podcast, where we take one topic a month and split it into weekly segments. This month's topic is taking offense to things that aren't offensive and being offended at this world-renowned offensive podcast. If you're not offended yet, you certainly will be. However, with us tonight is a wonderful host who has the most boasts, jokes, hosts with boats, and jokes without chokes, without tokes that we know of on his awesome podcast, Cartastrophe 365. The enigmatic, stupendous, resounding, confounding, handsomest, better than the rest of us, Joe.
Holy Jesus, titty fucking Christ, that was amazing. I mean, no offense, but Jesus Christ.
It takes a deep breath sometimes. On the plus side, I can hold my breath for a while.
You outdone yourself, sir.
Well, I try to do it.
You must retire. I think you have to stop, dude. There's no more podcasting you can do that's finer than that. That was the finest example of podcasting I've ever heard.
That's just fine. Episode 64, and then we're done. That's it. Lights out, everybody. Have a good night.
We're 5 away. You got to get to 69.
I gotta just 5 episodes of 1 second long.
You know what's bad? So I got past episode 69. That means I have to shoot for 420. That's the next funny one, right?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think there's really anything between those two that makes any sort of sense.
Like 123, high five, dude.
123, and I live on Main Street, and my initials are A, B, and C.
Yeah. I'm Johnny Everyteen. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I told the guys downstairs what I was doing. I had to duck out, and they're like, "Where are you going, man?" I'm like, "Dude, I'm doing a podcast called Topic a Month." And they're like, "Well, what's the topic?" So they've caught on to that much at least, because it's pretty much like the name suggests. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And, they've kind of gotten the hint.
Well, yeah. So I was like, so the topic is offense, and it's like, "Oh man, you're not the right guy. You're not the right get for that." And I was like, "No, man, I'm fucking awesome. Don't fuck off. Like, get out of my face with that shit. I'm offended by this." And so, and they said, "Well, but you've been drinking heavily to quite heavily as I've been trying to catch up with my 10 tickets. And I'm working on my 10th one right now."
Fuck.
And so I'm primed and I'm ready to go. So what are we doing this month? This month is offense, yes?
Yes, sir.
And you've popped your cherry with other guests on offense already, right?
We have. We've done our hour-long one that we normally do, and then we did a quickie with my sister-in-law just not last night, the night before, and now we're doing you and me.
How do you do it with your sister-in-law? I feel like talking about offense is too intimate to do with your sister-in-law.
Nah, she already knows I'm pretty offensive anyway.
I guess, man.
I don't know.
Okay. So I planned out some offensive related kind of commentary that I built for you,
Oh, good.
And I did this sober, so I'm going to try and translate my sober thoughts into your guys' brains while I'm drunk. So we'll see how that goes.
This is going to be good.
When you first brought up to me that we had offense was the topic, you had two kind of questions for me.
Yeah.
Off the cuff. This was my homework, right?
Yes, this was the homework that I had all the guests do is
So
if
what
you
was the first question?
if you found something offensive in the past that you don't find offensive today and vice versa. So if you didn't find something offensive in the past that you now find offensive, that was basically the topic, to see like how our perception of being offended and finding out what is offensive changes throughout our lives.
Oh, I'm sorry. I must have misunderstood completely because I just thought that the question was Google bears with long tongues. I thought that was the question.
That was the second question, actually. Like, what do you like about bears with long tongues?
Homework project. So for the new questions that you just sprung on me now, what do I find offensive? Personally, the only thing I find offensive is when people are offended. To be quite honest with you, that's the most unpalatable part of humanity that I think I find myself relating to on a general way is that they're offended constantly.
Yeah.
And that part drives me nuts.
I agree.
You know what I mean?
It drives me nuts as well when people are offended by especially little pitiful meaningless shit like the word man is in everything. Like, just chill the fuck out. It's honestly, it's not a big deal. They're making mountains out of molehills.
Yeah, God, they're making mountains out of theoretically straight plotted geometric lines is what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean, really, it's 100%
but
accurate.
The first question, as I understood it, was, what was a time that you thought something, you've identified something as offensive and changed the way you behave because of it, right? That was one of the things.
Right.
And my first inclination, and I think it's still a good one, even now in my drunken repose, I think it still holds up. I used to say when I was young, and so did everybody, so don't get on your fucking high horse and talk to me. Everybody back in the early 90s, they said everything was gay. Oh my God, that's so gay. Oh my God, I'm playing GoldenEye and I just got the clob. The clob is so gay, okay? Or like, oh man, did you guys see that dude who brought his dog to Target? Oh, so gay.
Yeah, I remember that. It's still prevalent today, but not nearly as much as it was in the 90s.
Oh yeah, we were saturated in gay talk. It was even, it was socially acceptable enough to be on TLC or what was the fucking MTV?
Was it like Road Rules or what was the other one? Yeah,
that kind of stuff. Like it was on those shows and things. So I mean, the point is, I was young and I was dumb and I wasn't real introspective. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the more I kept spouting this out, the more my buddy PJ, who happened to be, fruitfully butting into his homosexuality, the more it turned into something offensive for him. You know what I mean? And so I would say something like, hey, PJ, did you get a load of Rachel's tits on Friends? Fucking nips equal blasted, bro. And he would say, I don't like Rachel. She's not my cup of tea, which is strange because I think tea is nobody's cup of tea. But I would say, dude, really, your eyeballs are misrepresenting reality because Rachel's tits are fucking awesome. Everybody loves Rachel.
Yeah, I don't know anybody who really didn't.
With, no, they did. They totally did. Don't lie. Don't lie to yourself, man. Jennifer Aniston, by the way, is like a fine wine. Have you seen her in Horrible Bosses?
Yeah, she is a gorgeous woman.
Oh my God, she's 48 and she's phenomenal looking. But anyway, PJ had a fan in. He had a big old hard teenage boner for somebody on Will and Grace. Okay, and when he told me that it was Will and not Grace, it was a major turning point for me. Something that, I didn't have a pointed conversation necessarily with him about my language, about this or that being gay. But once I realized that I had a gay person in my life, I was introspective enough to realize that this was something that I was saying that was hurtful. You know what I'm saying? It was offensive, basically.
Yeah, you don't.
He was still my buddy. Nothing changed about him at all, except, to me, in my world, which is all you've got, you're the superhero in your own movie, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
And and to me, he turned gay overnight, as far as I was concerned. Which that's not reality, but that's my perspective. So from that moment forward, really, I decided it was offensive, and I didn't use that kind of vocabulary anymore. Unless I was actually using it to describe someone's sexual preference. For example, let's just pretend John is gayer than a rainbow cum on the mustache of a pair of lips that are busy tossing a unicorn salad. Something like that, let's just say.
That's super gay.
Something. Yeah, like it's super, super gay. Like that can't be argued, right? Then
Yeah.
it's reality, okay? So hold on. That was the first question. The next question was, have you ever decided that someone told you something was offensive and you decided that it wasn't, right? That was kind of question number 2?
Right.
Hey, let me ask you this. Did you answer the first question yourself on your podcast, right? I haven't listened to the offensive podcast yet.
Of what I have figured out that I used previous that now I don't anymore, that would probably be one of them, was using gay.
Yeah.
I don't really consider it to be too offensive depending on the context of it. I don't say it anymore because I'm aware that there are people who are homosexual that I'm friends with, that I might have family members, so I just don't say it anymore. Do I consider it that way? Not really, but it's the perception that they would have depending on the context in which it's being said. So I'm aware of them being able to take it incorrectly, even if it is not my point in making it be offensive.
So I came across a good example. Perspective is everything, and I came across a good example of this just yesterday. So I'm on this trip. I'm training in Kansas. I don't know if I mentioned to your fans. I'm training in Kansas, and I brought my boss along with me, or rather, my boss is with me. And I was talking to him, and I came to realize that his 2 sons, I thought were his sons, were actually adopted children. Okay, and as we got to talking about how that is, what is it like to have 2 adopted children, he mentioned to me that there's a stupid question that people always ask, okay? So if you said to someone, I have 2 children and they're adopted, right?
Right.
What's kind of one of the next questions that you feel in your gut to ask? What's the next question you ask?
Oh man, I honestly don't even know, to be frank with you.
So to me, it's, are they brothers?
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
Okay. So to him, that's a stupid question because he's adopted them. They're his children. Yes, they are brothers, right?
Right.
I understand the question. The question, meaning, are they genetically related? You know what I mean? Do they share the same genetic material? Which probably to me and you doesn't really count for a whole lot, but it's the next question, and it does kind of open things up. Like if they are not genetically related, is one from Russia and is one from China? There's more avenues to explore. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, when curiosity overcomes our ability to formulate a question that is quote unquote proper.
You don't get your whole intent out at the first question necessarily. It develops in a conversation, right?
Right.
But to him, that was wildly offensive. Now, to me, I didn't think that it was, because you can still come from a caring place and ask, were they genetically related? You don't mean any offense, you know what I mean? And to him, that wasn't the case. So it's all a matter of perspective, really, offenses.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is.
So the next question you asked me was, have you ever been told something offensive you decided that it wasn't? So and I've encountered this a lot. Whenever I am near a door, I'm walking towards the door and I yank it open. I'll always be kind of cognizant about who's behind me, you know what I mean? And I'll hold the door open for them. But I was told that it was a dick move to hold the door open if it was a woman, right? Because it's such a lame, white male, privileged thing to do.
Yeah.
You know, what do I think? Is she too weak to hold the door? Is she too weak to open the door because she's female? Do I think she's too dumb to read the pole sign? Do I think she's going to put her feet up out, she's going to put her feet into the ground and lean into the door at a 45-degree angle, pushing on it and just jamming the door into the jam, not able to move until she swoons outside, scratching feebly at the door until she waits for a strong man to come save her. Is that what I think? You know?
I agree. It's fucking stupid that people will immediately assume those things.
Well, they assume that that's what I think. Like,
Yeah.
Do I think, like, if I see a woman going near a door, I'm like, oh, that's a shame. She's never going to get in that building. You know, do they think that that's what I think, really? Or do they just want to get on their moral high horse?
I would imagine it's probably the moral high horse, which is pretty ironic because they're putting the woman and the man in the situation that they think it's going to happen in. When in reality...
Well, it doesn't live in reality. You know what I mean? It doesn't live in reality at all. And to that point, I don't want to live in a world like that. So I don't want to be a part of that world for several reasons. Number one, by their own logic, they should not have assumed that I was holding the door for a woman, because they should have assumed that I was holding it for a gender-neutral blob of DNA unless otherwise identified. So
right.
Shame on them for judging their gender. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Number two, and they're not going to be here for this necessarily because they're obviously judging me in this instance, but I hold the door for men as well. It's called being fucking courteous, don't you think?
You're goddamn right it is. That's what exactly should happen. You know, I do the same thing as well.
I don't sprint ahead and grab the door for a man, but I will happen to hold it open if I beat him to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the other thing about that is, how far are we going to take this? You know, now that common courtesy is under assault, maybe I should stop saying good morning and smiling at people, don't you think?
Yeah, really. I mean, we should really just pick everything down to the nitty gritty and just bitch about those little things. I think this is going to come around full circle.
Black and white, zeros and ones. Yeah, exactly. But I don't want to do that, Aiden Briggs. I'm going to draw a line in the sand. If I were the last decent person on the planet, then so be it. Being decent is not about perpetually being butthurt about literally everything.
Yeah.
It's about extending the respect and dignity to the fellow man. Okay, easy, triggered people. Fellow person, how about
that? Good catch. I don't want any hate mail.
Yeah, they're going to send it to you. He said man. So to me, that means saying good morning and you're welcome and go ahead, please, and holding the fucking door. And if they're going to graft a weird subtext on it, then that's on them. That's them being offended, not me being offensive. I want to make sure that that's clear. There's a difference between being offensive and being offended. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When you're offended, you're taking offense to absolutely everything. And when you're offensive, you can just choose one thing to be offensive about, but the rest of your life is perfectly fine.
Yeah, I mean, how do we want other people to hold our remotes? Do we want other people to be able to control us that thoroughly? You know?
Right.
I mean, think about it like that. If you walk into your environment, are you an amoeba that only reacts to stimuli, or do you have thought behind what you do? You know, how two-dimensional do you want to be? That kind of thing. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Oh, you're making sense. I get you.
Is this coming across really well? I'm pretty drunk right now, and I got to be honest.
Hey, being pretty drunk, you're actually, putting together two words together, so that's pretty good. I like it.
I wanted to admit something else to you. While we were talking, I took a piss.
I was going to say, it got kind of hollow in here. I was wondering what's going on.
Oh, no. So anyway, if people insist on being offended, I wish they would be offended quietly. Okay, that's kind of my button on that thought.
I think if they're going to end up being offended no matter what, and it'll happen. I mean, people are just going to get offended by things. That's fine. But be rational about it. Don't get all worked up. Learn to understand why you're offended. Why are you so offended by this one thing? In what context is it offensive? I mean, chances are a lot of people are taking things out of context, unless it's absolutely hateful and spiteful. Then you just
like if you see somebody like kicking a dude and calling him the N-word, I mean, now that's hate.
Yeah,
that's offensive.
That is absolutely offensive because it is hateful. But not everything
crosses that line. There's so much that's not black and white in this world. It's all gray. Let's get real.
Agreed. 100%.
I just had a powerful thought 1 second ago, and it was powerful to me because I'm full of Bud Light right now. So we'll see if it's powerful to you. I think people are behaving like offended water. You know, water just wants the least path of resistance downhill. They want to go straight down to offended valley. Okay? And so they're looking for any excuse, any weird little downhill rivulet that they can find that they can channel their offense down. That's what it feels like. It feels like they're looking specifically to be offended. Like they wake up, they put on their tighty whities and they stretch. Oh, let's go figure out how to be offended. Okay? Does that seem like the world you're living in, Aiden? I mean, it seems like that's how it feels to me anyway.
A little bit more, yeah. I think a lot of it has to do with our ability to hop on the internet and go on any social media, any news site, and be able to find something that is offensive and then pick it apart.
I think so. I think we're constantly bombarded by weird shock value clickbait. I think because it's marketable. Used to be that it was in batches. You know, on the news, we would maybe get like a half an hour of it here and there. But now, when you log on to Facebook on your fucking phone, this magical square you hold in your pocket that tells you the attitude of everybody else on the planet, it's all offensive clickbaity shock shit.
Yeah,
you know
it really is.
We used to be insulated from that stuff. Now we're not. No,
given that it's becoming a constant. Hopefully we will start to look past the clickbait shit and realize it as it is, not underneath its face value of it, that it's just advertisement for bullshit. And hopefully we'll begin to see that, but I think we're still holding on to that shock value that we need it and we yearn for it and we must be offended by it so we can share it.
Do you know why I think we need it though? I think we need it because we don't have any real issues in our lives. I mean, by and large, we have small stuff here and there, but all of our major needs are met. You know what I mean? Like love and shelter and food. Well, I don't know about love. Do you have love?
Yeah,
My wife's kind of lukewarm on me. How does your wife like you? Pretty decent?
Well, I got out of the basement today, so that was pretty cool. That was all right.
So in this hotel, they got this dude arming the grill in the morning, and he has pancakes that are so thick, your wife couldn't shove them under the door. They'd be skinned in half if she tried.
Fuck.
So
she better not hire him.
But this leaves a lot of energy left for other things. I think butthurt tops the list on humanity's choice of method of burning off that unused energy. We have all this angst in us because we have all our needs met that we don't know what to do with it. We've got the luxury of time, and we've got the luxury of means to go seek the shit that pisses us off. It's kind of like if you have a toothache, you fuck with it with your tongue constantly, right?
Yeah, you let it fester and get worse and be even angrier.
Yeah, you can't help it. The only thing that can, combat that drive is to be self-aware and introspective and thoughtful and reasonable enough to sort the offensive wheat from the offensive chaff, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And I think introspection and thought and reasonableness, these are qualities that are in really short supply today. As people become more in tune with the immediate gratification and external, overwhelming, and thoughtless entertainment that they're literally available to them every second of every day, I think we're unable to compress and get off that manic ride. You know what I mean? We're always chasing that next Candy Crush in our pocket.
We have too many cell phones, not enough books.
We're in the Twitter sphere while we take a dump. We have to pick at each other like fucking rabid goddamn chickens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we really do need to get off the internet a little bit more often.
If I'm doing too much talking, you have to yell my safety word, okay?
Oh, no, you're good. You are good, man. This is an interview as well, so you can go off, because it sounds like you've needed to for a little while now.
Well, I tell you what, I feel like the brunt of a lot of this for the most part, because whenever somebody's offended, it's always by the white male patriarchy. You know what I mean?
There is a lot of that going around that I've noticed. As a white male
patriarch, I find that I'm the butt of this for the most part.
I think kind of the worst part of it is, within that example as well, is not every male is like that, right? Like, not every male is going to be misogynistic and racist when they're white and male.
Yeah.
It's just not...
Just me.
Yeah, it's just you. I mean, come on. Obviously, Joe is the leader of this entire establishment that is the white male patriarchy.
They're right, but still not cool. You know what I mean?
Cat's out of the bag.
So when someone says, oh, the misogynist patriarchy, blah, 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 this kind of nonsense, man, you have not to look but one step further than my wife to know that she runs the fucking roost at my house. If anything happens that crosses her, boy, that's a problem. But
Yeah.
I better adapt. You know what I mean? So
Right.
she runs the household. So when I hear about this offensive patriarchy and how we're always keeping women down and stuff like that, it really rubs raw for me because my wife, I'm so thoroughly pussy whipped, I guess.
That's all right, though. I mean, you kind of got
there.
an easy life at that way. I mean, if your wife is doing like... No,
yeah,
go ahead.
It's easier than the other way, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because she can make it way more difficult for me if she wanted to.
Yeah.
So I want to move on quickly because I think my wife actually listens to your podcast.
Oh, does she really? Oh, Steph.
I think she does. Because every time I'm like, hey, man, so I'll tell her the night before, I'm like, hey, babe, I got to go podcast tonight. And she'll be, oh, is it going to be a topic of month? Is Aiden Berg going to be on? Oh, can I come? That kind of stuff. So I think she listens to your show, so I better move on. If you don't hear from me in like a week, I'm probably dead. My wife did it, okay?
Steph, you're a good woman. Don't hurt him too bad. You can hurt him.
Hey, by the way,
You can hurt him, but not too bad.
best way to get rid of a body, what do you think?
What are we talking, pigs or are we talking acid?
Ooh, pigs are dope. I like pigs because of the snatch factor, but I got a way better way. You ready?
Yeah.
Put them in a spacesuit and put them in a Tesla and ship it to Mars.
It's the only way to get rid of him, isn't it? Nobody will be the wiser.
Yeah, exactly. Who the fuck's going to look for John Smith on Mars? Nobody.
Yeah.
It's going to be 1,000 years from now before that body gets found.
Oh, man, that would be all of this, everything SpaceX has done and Tesla together has been to get rid of one guy.
I would legitimately fillet Elon Musk's penis right now if it was near my mouth, anywhere near my mouth. I would do it.
Yeah.
That guy is saving humanity. I swear to God, he's such a. I don't know if it's that he's a genius, but he's got the right attitude. He's a billionaire with the right attitude. He wants to work for humanity.
Yeah.
All his open source stuff, like when he made the design for the Hyperloop, he said anybody who's willing to do this, here's the design, here's how it will work, guaranteed. And betting against Elon Musk is a bad idea. So if he says it will work, it will fucking work. I guarantee it.
Yeah, absolutely.
He open sources that shit instead of hiding behind it and instead of being like that inmate that's got his arms wrapped around his tray full of slop, he's like sharing it with people. It's amazing to see. It really is.
Yeah, this collective social, like, huge society of we're all humans, we better fix our shit. And he has the money and the resources to get it done, and it's just fucking amazing.
Well, yeah. And he pulls the trigger on it. Like he is our Tesla, but Tesla was a fucking baller. You know what I'm saying? Like that's pretty amazing to see. Like it really is. You know how we always say like, oh, who would you like to go back in time and meet? People will say Tesla, right?
Yeah.
Well, for us it should be Elon Musk, and we can fucking tweet to that goofy motherfucker right now.
Yeah.
You know, we can at Carcastrophe365 says, "Way to go, Elon! I want to fillet your penis." You know what I mean? And he'll get that message. I don't know that he'll. He might not appreciate it. He might get offended.
He might get offended. I
but,
think he'd be appreciative, though.
Well, yeah, but if he saw a picture, I feel like he'd, be fine.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
he'd be down. He'd be down.
So here's my next thought. Now, I wrote this down. I asked myself, is being offended ever a good thing? Right? That's a good question, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. I personally
What
do
do you
think
think?
it is a good thing. I think it is absolutely good to be offended. If we weren't offended by things, we wouldn't have equal rights. We wouldn't have the Bill of Rights. We wouldn't have civil rights. We have not only the right to be offended, but the right to do something about that offense, whether or not it's something
that was
trivial.
my thought too. I thought being offended is part of our ability. So when you feel pain because you're touching a hot pan, the reaction is take your hand off the fucking stove. Okay? When you feel offended at somebody's rights being trampled on, your reaction is to abolish slavery.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay? So that's what's at that's at the core of humanity to So if humanity is an organism as a whole, this is our reaction to stay away from danger.
Right.
But this is for things that are truly wrong, truly dangerous, okay? So like slavery was truly wrong. It's offensive, and it goes against our basest mind, and humanity has by and large made it so that offense has gone, right? For the most part. I mean, fuck, man, I don't want to say in the good countries, but in the developed countries, that shit is gone.
Yes.
Okay. So I think it would be productive if we reserve our offense for things that truly deserve it. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're offended and triggered by literally everything, you dilute the pool, and you cry wolf so many times that you only end up hurting the truly worthy things to be offended about.
Yes, absolutely.
You know? I heard about it as saying you need to deal with reality on reality's terms. Okay? There's very little in the human experience that's black and white. We live in a messy gray area for the most part. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And this is where shit gets hot buttony, so you make sure to dump me if I get too crazy here. But is Aiden Briggs, is rape wrong?
To me, absolutely yes, 110%.
So, yeah, okay, we can agree we shouldn't rape. Let's call rape maybe the black end of the spectrum. We should not hold down women and have sex with them without their consent. Okay, we'll call that's on the black end of the spectrum. Okay.
I would say that sounds fair. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, hold on. What else here is requiring sexual? So if you're a boss of, you own a business, okay? If you require sexual congress with your employees for them to keep a job, is that wrong too, Aiden?
I would personally say that it is definitely unethical and immoral, but depending upon the situation, it is still a gray area. Maybe that's how they want to get paid.
Maybe a little bit. Maybe it's a shade grayer than chasing down an unarmed jogger and brutally raping him in the night.
Right.
Right? That's a little bit grayer. Okay?
Yeah.
We'll call that slate gray. Right? What about refusing to take no for an answer and hounding after somebody, till they give in and have sex with you? Is that wrong?
I would say yes as well, but it honestly, it's situational. But yeah, I would still say that is wrong to continually hound a person into sex.
It is wrong. Well, I'll call it seriously douchey. Like if you're bothering a fella for some sex and he says no, and then Aiden Briggs says, but I want to have sex with this man, and the man finally says yes. Okay, that's seriously douchey.
Yeah.
But we are getting grayer and grayer.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're getting over to the whiter part of the spectrum.
Yeah, God, it sounds wrong even making it black and white. You know what I mean? But that's kind of the yin and the yang, kind of classical.
Yeah.
I feel kind of bad calling the black end the bad end and the white end the good end. I feel like there's going to be some racially charged component to that.
It's all right. We'll take all the emails in stride.
Oh, fuck, man. Make sure to email a topic a month at gmail.com. Right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
The point is we're getting grayer and grayer. And at a certain point, we're going to get to, well, she's 17 and 11/12ths of a month, and he's 18 and 1 month. So what he has done is rape. You know what I'm saying? Because they have had consensual sex together, and that is rape. Now, if we're going to call that the same thing as chasing down and raping somebody in the park, that is an injustice to the lady that was raped in the park or the fellow that was raped in the park. Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, that would be definitely offensive on both sides of the story as well. It's offensive to the young couple who one is almost of age, and it is offensive to the person who actually got raped because there is a clear-cut difference that one is worse.
They're having what might blossom into a long-term loving relationship that might last until they're 95 and they both fucking die. They might be the only bit of love that they know in this world. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And if we're calling that Aiden Briggs chasing down and raping a man in the park, I want to say that again. If we're calling that Aiden Briggs has hidden in a bush in the park and has hopped out and raped a man,
again,
okay, this has happened. That's not a justice to them either, really.
No, it absolutely isn't.
You got to let people be people, and people are gray, man. there's no there's no two there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So, I don't know about you, but how many gay clubs do they have in Duluth, and or how many homosexual clubs do they have in Duluth, Aiden?
As far as I know, there's only one in Duluth. There might be one in Superior as well. So there's two for, we'll say, 140,000 people.
So how often do you frequent such events?
I can't say I've ever gotten to a club in Duluth, let alone gay club.
My wife is real deep into the homosexual, scene. She has a lot of gay friends, and I'll go along with them just because I'm a good husband. You know what I'm saying? I don't give a shit where I'm dancing. Like, look, when you're married, everything is off the table anyway. So I don't give a shit what's off the table. If it's the ladies at the, heterosexual club are off the table, or if it's the fellas at the homosexual club that are off the table, everything's off the table. My penis can't go into another body unless it's my wife, right?
Right.
So let's get real here. Doesn't matter. So we all just want to dance to Lady Gaga anyway. But when I go along with her and her buddies to the to the gay clubs, I'll find myself sometimes quite aggressively advanced upon sexually by lots of dudes. Okay, this happens quite frequently, and I don't take it personally, and I don't really get offended by it. It's actually a little flattering, but it is.
Yeah.
I tell them no thanks, and they move on.
Yeah.
Okay. I will say this at the risk of being too forward here. Sometimes that's not good enough, and I will need to actually physically resist these people, because sexuality is a powerful thing, man.
Absolutely, it is.
It's one of our basest drives here, man. Like, it really is. Like, when somebody sees somebody, it's a craving for that steak, and it's just a powerful drive. And if they come after you, and it's kind of a like a persistent thing, they do need to be persistently reminded not to.
Yeah.
But I don't consider myself a victim for this. I just don't. I don't want to identify as that. Although I've been quite. Let's just say this: when they're done with me, they should wash their hands. Okay? But it wasn't rape. Okay, I wasn't raped. When somebody basically asks somebody else for sex, whether it's physically or verbally, and that somebody says no, whether it's physically or verbally, and that person walks away, and they should probably wash their hands, but they did walk away without the sex, I don't think we should treat that as a crime, is kind of what I'm saying.
I think it's fair, but I also think it is highly dependent on the person as well.
It is, and I know it's skewed a little bit, because as a male, males statistically have a lot more bone density and muscular density, and we weigh more and we're taller, right? So we can afflict a more offensive a grievance against a female than a male can a male. Can we agree on that?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. We tend to come off as a little more aggressive rather than passive.
Yeah, so I know it's not quite the same, although I will say this: I've had some pretty buff dudes grab my dick in the gay club, so I do know what it's like to be not quite able to say no.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, if they wanted the answer to be yes, it would have been yes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it is different, and I'm not trying to make it sound like that's exactly the same, but my point is that it's not black and white. It's just not. Everything that you do on every day, everything is gray. Everything is messy. There's a spectrum for every interaction that you have that's human, because we're not binary things. We're not zeros and ones. We're what's the qubit? The quantum qubit. We're zeros and ones at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
There's always going to be a gray area for no matter what decision you've made, what situation that you're in, and what you're going to be offended by. One thing you could find offensive from somebody in terms of not finding it offensive from somebody else.
Right, exactly. And let's just try and live our lives on that scale, and maybe be a little bit less dark gray than normal, and we'll call that a good life. You know what I mean? So my next thought was, with all this perpetual butthurt that we're surrounded by, all this offended millennial syndrome that we're surrounded in, what the hell can we do about it? What can me and Aiden Briggs do about it, right?
Man, I don't know. I've even been thinking about this as well. The one thing that I've
Stop
come up
chasing
with.
people down and raping them in the park, first of all, Aiden. God
No,
damn.
I gotta get a record, man. All right, give me a break here. I'm up to
He's gonna go
19
for the
so
world
far.
record, the most raped men in the park.
Yeah. Just run around in a banana hammock with a dick hole
He
cut
blew
out.
right through the tidy whities on that last one just to make the record. What do you think, though, seriously, what do you think can be done about such a thing? Because there's this tide of butthurt coming at you right now. I don't know if you feel it as badly as I feel it here in the cities, but what do you think can be done about such a thing?
I think it needs to be done on both parties. The one who is taking offense, more so, to understand the situation in which the words or the actions are coming across, and for the person making the perceived offense to establish communication and talk with both parties to be able to communicate and understand the situation, because we are so dead set on reactionary emotions about this is what's going on, so I should do something about it right now, rather than understanding the situation at hand. Communication to me is absolute key to it, and being able to understand both sides and to understand how the other person communicates, not just the words that they are saying. As we know, everything is a gray area, and the words that are coming out of our mouths in talking to one another can be perceived differently, not only to me, but to you and to the people on the other side of the speaker listening to the podcast right now.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, though. So how do you open a dialogue with someone that just opens with, well, that offends me? And since they've beaten you to the offensive deadline, everything else is null and void. Like, personally, I find it offensive that they're so easily offended. You know what I mean? But that's not valid because they were offended first. So if they beat you to this offended foot race, how do you open an honest dialogue with these people? Have you ever tried? I've tried. It doesn't work.
I've tried when I've had discussions and sometimes arguments and debates with other people on different subjects, and for me it comes down to either two things. You can double down on the offense and ask them and say that you're still offended by them being offended, and then when they come back with the same, well, I'm offended because of this, you can say you're offended because of that.
Stinks, right?
Yeah. And or sincerely asking them, well, why are you offended? Like coming out with a soft tone of a voice, looking at them genuinely in the eye and wondering why they're offended. So you can either try to attempt to fix and rectify the situation. It doesn't mean that you have to stop doing what you're doing, but I think it comes down to understanding why they're offended at the situation, and learning to fix whatever's going on, or at least know why they're offended a little bit better. But everybody's going to be offended by it.
I think that dialogue works a little better for you, though. I think it's easier for you because you look like an anorexic lemur. I mean, no offense.
No, that's the look I'm shooting for, and I've hit the mark.
You're shooting. You get up every morning and you have a picture of an anorexic lemur in the mirror, and you're like, fucking nailed it.
Hot damn, look at this tail, motherfucker.
Hey, by the way, whenever someone says no offense, what they really mean is, I'm offending you right now.
Yeah, don't take this as offensive. Well, fuck you, I'm gonna now that you've said that. You think I'm easily offended? Is that what you're trying to say? Is that I'm easily offended? Fuck you.
Yeah. But basically, like, you look like such a genuinely nice dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, when I first saw your picture on Facebook, I was like, "Aw," I was like, "Oh, eating bread." You know? So, like, you look like a very thin teddy bear. You know, do they make thin teddy bears?
They don't, unfortunately. They should start.
Like a wire-frame teddy bear.
The cat on my shoulder.
I look like a hate crime walking around. Okay? I mean, you know. Have you seen my pictures? Like, I look like the next face of the KKK. Like, I'm shaved.
Yeah, but you got your kid with you. Your kid's good looking.
Yeah, like they're very Aryan. Okay, like I've procreated with Germans. That's how much to the cause I'm devoted. Apparently, but I look like a walking hate crime. Is my point. And that type of message, they're prejudging me just like they're afraid of being prejudged.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And like I'm such a softie on the inside. It's unfucking believable. Like I just love everyone and want to give everybody a kiss, but I don't look like that. I look like some weird 6 foot tall, like I'm gonna say semi-muscular bald white male with aggressive tattoos. I have strangely aggressive tattoos, which is a bad decision, but there they are. And people look at these things and they do the math and they think that I'm coming after them. You know what I'm saying? So the dialogue can't stand a chance with me, but it might with you. You know, I don't know. But what do you do in a situation like where I found myself? How do you have an honest dialogue if you look like you're a walking hate crime? You know what I mean?
I wish I would be able to give you somewhat of a collected answer, but unfortunately I can't. I haven't even perceived the situation. Man, I don't know.
Yeah,
it's got to be
not
rough.
a narrative that you get to analyze very often because you don't ever think about the weird KKK looking guy. You don't ever think about his point of view, really, do you?
No, generally when you see somebody that looks like the KKK, you're just going to either A, steer clear of them or make snide remarks. But, yeah.
Do you think I should stop with the white hood and all this? Should I take that shit off or what?
Yeah, you might want to trade out your white hoodie for like a blue one or a yellow one. That might be the way to go.
Maybe a Black Lives Matter wife beater. Now wait a minute. But then it's a wife beater, and that's offensive. Yeah. I don't know what to do.
I don't know. The irony of the situation.
I can't fucking win. You know what I think's going to happen though? So the pendulum swings it's always swinging, right?
Yeah.
And we have swung so far. So I think the pendulum was going that way ever since the 70s with the love everyone and the free love and this and that hippie bullshit, and it's swung to its zenith. I pray to God that it's fucking swung to its zenith anyways in 2018, March 4th or whatever the day it is right now. I hope it's at its zenith, and I hope that it swings the other way. And I think it must happen organically with our children. Like my poor kid, he's going to grow up in a world where it is not popular to be a white male. And I think that's going to begin the change. I think he's going to begin to feel marginalized. And I think a dialogue might open between him and his peers. And I think the pendulum might start coming back down. And then probably in 150 years, it'll be evened out. I don't know. But I think that's about the only cure is time and letting humanity evolve on its own. I think this is all natural. As much as we don't like it, I think it's there for a reason. And I think we're just here to podcast about it, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I think discussion overall is going to really help out the situation on both sides of the argument. Whether those that are offending
and you,
or
right? That's it, right?
Yeah.
You're the only cure.
We're going to fix the entire world. And ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it here first.
Fucking slayed it. I think we nailed it, Aiden Briggs. That was a kick-ass episode.
This is a good episode. I hope everybody did enjoy it.
Are you recording anymore? Did you stop? Are your dumb listeners listening anymore? Probably not. They suck.
They quit. They've deleted everything. They hate us, and that's just fine because we hate them too.
You know what? I don't consider myself a narcissist, but my favorite episodes of yours are the ones that I'm on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm such a shitty person. God damn it.
Are
we signing off here, brother, or what?
Yes, sir. Where can we hear you, Joe?
So I'll tell you what, I don't normally like to give them this deep a peek into my psyche, my fans anyway. But if any of your fans would like to listen to some of this, it's going to be a lot watered down, and it's going to be more about fart jokes and penis jokes. But they can listen to the Cartastrophe 365 podcast. That is CARTASTROPHE 365. And we don't talk about offense. We talk about cars and farts, like I said.
Well, farts aren't offensive, but cars sure as fuck are sometimes.
Oh, my fucking Christ. You don't even know. Hey, by the way, did you know the EPA, in all their infinite wisdom, they decided that lead solder is bad for ducks? It's bad for duck feet. So they've gone to tin solder, and that's why there's so many computer-related problems on newer cars because of the tin solder. Did you know that?
So why are ducks going around stepping on hot solder?
Dude, ducks are fucking around with solder, apparently. They're fucking around with GM computers and shit. That's why they're fucking gem modules go out.
They got to get themselves a better union than what they have if they're getting lead poisoning from walking around on it. Fucking ducks.
It's so bad. So I was at this conference today, like I was saying, and the guy at the front was like, "Hey, do you know why computers are going bad, so often?" And I raised my dumb hand, and I was like, "'Cause there's so many more computers on cars, boss." And he said, "Nope, that was a fucking stupid answer."
Nope, that was a stupid question.
Neo-Nazi. Yeah. He was like, "You're so dumb and ugly, and you're going to be on a dumb podcast later." I was like, "Oh shit, this guy nailed it."
Hey, he listens.
He told me about the tin. Yeah, he does exactly. So he told me about the lead solder and the tin solder situation. I was like, "Holy shit, that's fucking makes sense though." Like the EPA is always trying to fucking soften the erection of the automotive industry.
A little bit.
So
anyway.
So that's all I got, brother. You guys can find me if you search Cartashke 365 any of the hell where, and that's all I got.
Fuck yeah. Right on, man. Thank you to our new listeners out there. We're glad you could join us in this wonderful neck of the woods that is our safe space away from confrontation that is the internet. If you'd like to pull us out of it, please do so by giving us money on our Patreon at patreon.com/a-topic-a-month. If that doesn't do it for you and you'd rather talk to us in person, please fucking don't. But you can send us hate mail at atopicamonth@gmail.com and reach out to us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at A Topic a Month. Thanks, and have a good night.